And speaking of mindset, I do want to spend some time today delving into the mindset of Warren Buffett, which is good to do every now and then, because it will also give you a clearer view of the mindset of Oliver Velez. Now, I'm not putting myself on an equal with Warren Buffett. By no means am I doing that. I'm just saying that when we talk about the recent moves of Warren Buffett, you will see the same things in what I've been doing with you for years, in a way. So it's good to do this. And so that's what I want to start off with. And when we go over the recent moves of Warren Buffett, you will see nothing more than exactly how I teach you to play the market, how I've been teaching you to play the market since the 1990s. And so I want to use Warren Buffett today as a conduit to our overall general principle of market play, which we'll talk about as well today. And then we will end up by just going over some of our plays and some what we're going to be looking at as some of our future plays. All right. So let me get something up on the board here. I have to admit that I hadn't followed it as closely as I perhaps should have been. Someone asked me the other day, Oliver, what do you think about Warren Buffett's recent investment in Japan, in Japan's 5 largest trading companies? And at that particular point, I had not been aware of it. But it interested me instantly, so I began to make a few calls and do some digging and some investigating into, the documents and the SEC filings and stuff like that, right? These are things that you don't have to do. I do this stuff for you. And okay, Moit, no problem. We can grab all your questions. So I did some digging through SEC filings and so forth and so on, and became somewhat familiar with his moves. So let's go over this. Why is Warren Buffett interested in Japan? That's question one. Why is the year 2020, why is 2020 Warren Buffett's largest sell year in the last several decades? Think about this. This year is one of the largest sell years on record for Berkshire Hathaway. Nearly sold out of all banks. Nearly all banks. 100% sell out of all airlines. These are massive sells. And the reduction across the board in many things. But now, why is there a pile into Japan? Now, I'm using Warren Buffett's moves as a conduit. Before we delve into that, let's go all the way back to January of 2019. And I'll bring up a chart. Let's go all the way back, guys. We got to go back 1 year to understand the moves here. And by understanding these moves, we're going to get better ourselves. Take a look at this. January 28th, 2009, Berkshire Hathaway. Basically, Berkshire Hathaway is the company that Warren Buffett uses to make all of his investments, right? So Berkshire Hathaway is Warren Buffett for the most part. Okay. So let me get my pen up here. Second. In January 28, 2019, Berkshire Hathaway raises money through the bond market. Check this out, guys. Over a year and a half ago, Warren Buffett has his company issue bonds. In what nomination is this? He's issuing bonds in what denomination? Can someone tell me what that is? That's in Japanese yen. Uh-oh. Now, these look huge, but this totals about 4 billion US. Berkshire Hathaway raises $4 billion in bonds denominated in Japanese yen. Look at the interest rate. So people give him $4 billion in exchange for 0.17%. So less than 2%. They're going to get on their money. All right. No, less than this is 1/10 of 1%. This is just so stupid. It's practically zero. That money, that note expires in 2024. See, the longer the bond's expiration duration, the bigger you get. See this? Up to 34, you get this. Look, you're at 1% on your money if you give up your money until 2049. Check. Interesting. So if you tie up your money in this Warren Buffett bond until 2049, he'll give you back 1% a year on it. That's crazy. That's almost like free money. All right. Now, Devinish says it looks like they're doing it for safekeeping. Oh, no. No. Now, listen to me. While cash has some value, it is an eroding asset. So you have to understand, when it comes to wealth, you do not want enormous amounts of cash on hand, because cash is an eroding asset, right? The US dollar has lost 98% of its value from the early 1930s. Think about that. That's the erosion rate. And now with interest rates close to zero, it's eroding faster, at a faster rate. All right. So while cash still has a value, wealthy people do not keep enormous amounts of cash on hand, relatively speaking. All right. So, okay. So here's where it gets interesting. Raises $4 billion in 2019. All right. In 2020, wait a minute. Wait, let's go to one more thing. Okay, let's go to one more thing. He doesn't just do it there. He raises on the same date. He raises 1 billion euros in a senior note for 0% interest. How crazy is that? Look, give me 1 billion euros, Give it to me until 2025 and I'll give you nothing. Crazy, right? Now think about this. Why would someone buy a bond from Berkshire Hathaway, from Warren Buffett, for 0% interest? Miguel says, yes, betting against the US dollar. The bet is for negative interest rates, which would cause the bonds to soar, right? The value of this bond would go up like a stock if we move to negative interest rates, all right? And yes, the erosion of the dollar would make a 0 interest bond go up in price like a stock. So it's not just about the interest rate. Now, here's the thing. Now, we take the $4 billion raised on this date in Japanese yen. We take another billion in euros. This comes up let's call it roughly 6 billion. It's not quite, but let's call it roughly 6 billion. All right, close to 6 billion. Now, does anybody know what Warren Buffett invested in the 5 Japanese trading companies? Does anybody know the amount? $6 billion. So literally what Warren Buffett did was raise roughly $6 billion that he basically has to pay almost 0% interest on. Put the $6 billion into 5 Japanese trading companies. Now, very quickly, just to explain to you what Japanese trading companies are, they're conglomerates. Listen, Japan doesn't have a lot of resources, so it relies on these 5 companies to provide everything for the country. So for the most part, these 5 companies do everything from oil, gas, electricity, to wheat, bread, food, computers, technology, internet. They're everything. As Japan can't grow it, Japan can't produce it. So 5 companies basically go out into the world and bring this stuff back. And the government has allowed 5 companies to basically dominate this space. There is no other competition that can really come in and be a 6th company. You understand? So Warren Buffett takes the $6 billion raised, puts it in here. Now, why Japan? Let's go to some charts. This is where it's going to become really interesting. All right, let's go to some charts. Let me take this chart off first. And now, take a look at the NASDAQ. All right, wait, let me do that better. I'll do that better for you. Take a look at the NASDAQ, guys.